Imagine this. You've been the perfect stepfather for 3 years. You've paid for everything, showed up to every game, cooked family dinners, and treated your stepchildren like your own blood. But then, your 17-year-old stepson looks you dead in the eye and says, "You're not my father. I don't have to listen to you." And when you discover he's been tormenting your 10-year-old son, calling you worthless, something inside you finally snaps. Trust me, what I did next will shock you. But maybe it's exactly what these kids needed to learn about respect. Hello everyone, welcome to Hidden Hearth. My name is Maxim Green, I'm 38 years old, and this is the story of how I taught my stepchildren the hardest lesson of their lives, and why sometimes love means setting boundaries that actually hurt. When I married Junia 3 years ago, I thought I was getting the family I'd always dreamed of. I brought my 2 kids from my previous marriage, Rumen, who's 12, and Fenrir, who's 10. Junia brought her 2 from her first marriage, Oberon, who's 17, and Grace, who's 15. Their biological father, David Older, lives across town and has them every other weekend. From day one, I tried to be the father figure I'd wished for growing up. I included Oberon and Grace in everything: family game nights, vacation planning, asking their input on house rules. I paid for their school supplies, sports equipment, drove them to practices, just like I did for Rumen and Fenrir. But here's what I learned the hard way. You can't force respect, and you certainly can't buy it. The first warning sign came about 6 months after we all moved in together. I asked Oberon to help bring groceries in from the car. Simple request, right? He looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're not my dad. I don't have to listen to you." Junia overheard and told him to help anyway, which he did, but with this attitude that made it crystal clear he was only doing it because his mom said so, not because he respected me as an adult in the house. I let it slide. He's adjusting, I told myself. This is hard for him too. But it didn't get better. It got progressively worse. Oberon and Grace developed this pattern of selective hearing. They'd respond immediately when Junia asked them to do something, but when I made the same request, they'd act like I hadn't spoken. Or they'd look at me with this blank stare and say, "I'll wait for Mom to tell me." The disrespect started manifesting in subtle ways that built up over time. Like when I'd cook dinner for everyone, and Oberon would make a show of asking Junia if it was okay to eat what I'd made. Or when Grace would leave messes in common areas, and when I asked her to clean up, she'd say, "My mom didn't tell me to." But the real damage was what this was doing to my own children. Rumen came to me crying one day because Oberon had taken her art supplies without asking. When she asked for them back, he told her, "Your dad doesn't make the rules here, only real parents do." Real parents. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Fenrir started asking me why Oberon and Grace didn't have to listen to me like he did. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that some kids in the house follow different rules based on whose DNA they share? I talked to Junia about it multiple times. She'd have conversations with Oberon and Grace. They'd apologize, and things would be okay for a few days. Then we'd be right back to the same pattern. "They're still adjusting," she would say. "Their father fills their heads with ideas about loyalty and biological family. Just give it more time." But time wasn't fixing anything. It was making things worse. Because Oberon and Grace were learning they could disrespect me without real consequences. And my own children were watching this happen, learning that respect is apparently optional in our house.
The incident that changed everything happened on a cold Tuesday night in February. I'd had a brutal day at work and came home to find Fenrir in his room, sobbing. When I asked what was wrong, he told me that Oberon had broken his favorite toy, a model spaceship we'd built together over the summer. And when Fenrir got upset, Oberon said, "Tell your dad to buy you a new one. That's all he's good for anyway." I found Oberon in the living room, playing video games like nothing had happened. "Oberon," I said, keeping my voice calm, "we need to talk about what happened with Fenrir's spaceship." He didn't even pause his game. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You broke his model spaceship, the one we built together over the summer." He shrugged. "Accidents happen." "This wasn't an accident. Fenrir said you threw it against the wall when he wouldn't let you use his gaming headset." Oberon finally looked at me, but his expression was pure defiance. "Fenrir's lying, and even if he wasn't, you're not my dad. I don't have to explain anything to you." "You're living in my house," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You're eating food I buy, using electricity I pay for, and you just broke something that belongs to my son. You absolutely do owe me an explanation." He laughed, actually laughed. "Your house? Mom pays rent too. Your son? Fenrir's not even related to me. And you're just Mom's husband. You're not my parent. You don't make my rules, and I don't answer to you." Something snapped inside me. Not anger exactly, but this cold, crystal-clear clarity. This kid had just told me exactly where I stood in his eyes. And it wasn't just disrespectful, it was cruel. But instead of yelling, I nodded. "Okay," I said quietly. "I hear you loud and clear." I walked away and went to my home office. I pulled out my laptop and started making a list of everything in the house that was in my name or that I paid for. The mortgage, the utilities, the internet, the cable, the family cell phone plan that included Oberon and Grace's phones, the car insurance that covered Junior's car, the one she drove Oberon and Grace around in, the gym membership, the streaming services, even the gaming console Oberon had been playing on. Then I started making phone calls. I called my cell phone provider and removed Oberon and Grace's lines from our family plan. I called the cable company and scheduled a disconnection for the next day. I called the internet provider and did the same. I changed the passwords on all the streaming accounts. Junia found me in the office around 10 p.m. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Oberon made it really clear tonight that I'm not his parent and he doesn't answer to me, so I'm making sure he doesn't have to worry about accepting anything from someone who isn't his parent." Her face went pale. "Maxim, what did you do?" "I'm removing Oberon and Grace from everything that's in my name or that I pay for. Their phones are already disconnected. Internet and cable get shut off tomorrow. I'm also going to need David's address because I'll be dropping off their belongings this weekend." "You can't be serious." I looked at her then. "Jessica, your son just told me I'm nothing more than your husband, that I have no authority in my own house, that my children don't matter because they're not related to him. He's right that I'm not his parent, but that means I'm not responsible for him either."
I spent the next day implementing my plan. I packed up Oberon and Grace's belongings, clothes, electronics, personal items, and loaded them into my truck. I changed the locks on the house and had new keys made for Junia, Rumen, Fenrir, and myself. When Junia, Oberon, and Grace came home that afternoon and couldn't get in, they called me. "Maxim," Junia said when I answered, "we can't get in the house." "I changed the locks," I said calmly. "Oberon and Grace's things are packed and ready to go to David's." "You can't kick out my children." "I'm not kicking them out because they're your children. I'm removing them because they've made it clear they don't recognize me as having any authority in my own home. People who don't respect the homeowner don't get to live in the home." There was silence on the other end. "I'll be home in 20 minutes. David can pick them up then, or you can drive them over, but they're not coming back in this house until they can treat me with basic respect." When I got home, David was already there. Junia had called him and he'd come straight over. "This seems pretty extreme over some teenage attitude," David said when he saw me. I looked at him steadily. "David, if your son told you that you weren't his parent, that he didn't have to listen to you, and that your children didn't matter to him, what would you do?" David was quiet for a moment. "I'd probably want to teach him a lesson. That's all I'm doing, teaching a lesson about respect and consequences." I turned to Oberon and Grace, who were standing next to Junia's car, looking stunned. "I want you both to understand something. This isn't about me being mean or petty. This is about respect. You've told me in words and actions that I'm not your parent, and you don't answer to me. Okay, I accept that. But parents provide for their children. If I'm not your parent, then I'm not obligated to provide for you." Oberon, for the first time since I'd known him, looked uncertain. "You're really going to make us leave? You told me I had no authority over you in my own house. You were right. But authority and responsibility go together. No authority means no responsibility. Grace started crying then. But where will we go? To your dad's, I said gently. He's your parent. I'm just your mom's husband, remember? They left with David that night. Junior was furious with me at first. We had some very difficult conversations over the next few days. She accused me of being cruel, of giving up on her kids, of putting my ego before our family. But I held firm. Junior, I love you and I want to love your kids, but I can't love people who actively disrespect me and hurt my children. Oberon and Grace need to learn that actions have consequences.
Rumen and Fenrir, meanwhile, were different kids. The tension in the house disappeared overnight. They did their homework without being asked, helped with chores without attitude, and for the first time in months, they seemed relaxed in their own home. After a week, David called me. Oberon and Grace want to come back, he said. They've been asking every day. What do you think? I asked. I think they learned something, David said. Oberon especially. He's been quieter, more thoughtful. I think he realized that respect isn't optional in a household. When Oberon and Grace returned, I sat them down for a conversation. Before you move back in, I said, I need to know that you understand the rules of this house. I'm not asking you to call me Dad or to love me like you love your father, but I am asking you to treat me with the same respect you'd show any adult who's taking care of you. Oberon nodded. I get it. And I'm sorry about what I said about Fenrir and the spaceship thing. That was messed up. And I'm sorry for being disrespectful, Grace added quietly. I didn't realize how much you do for us until it was gone. 6 months later, Oberon came to me when he was struggling with a chemistry problem, instead of waiting for Junior to get home from work. Grace started saying thank you when I drove her to soccer practice. Small things, but they mattered. The real test came about a year later when Oberon wanted to go to a concert with friends. He came to me and Junior together and asked for permission. When Junior said yes, but I expressed some concerns about the venue, Oberon didn't dismiss me or say he didn't have to listen to me. Instead, he addressed my concerns seriously and worked with me to come up with a compromise. That's when I knew we'd truly become a family. Looking back, I don't regret changing those locks. Some people called it extreme, but sometimes extreme situations require clear responses. Oberon and Grace needed to learn that you can't have the benefits of being part of a family without the responsibility of treating all family members with respect. So, there you have it. Sometimes love means setting boundaries. Sometimes being a good parent or step-parent means being willing to be the bad guy for a while, to teach an important lesson. Have you ever had to set hard boundaries with family members who were taking advantage of your kindness? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've dealt with similar situations in your own family. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Hidden Hearth. We're building a community here where real family stories matter, and respect is earned, not demanded. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.